Immortality and the meaning of life. What do you see as the purpose of life?
I wrote a book about that actually. I felt like it came to me that the meaning of life. I was like, oh, now it finally makes sense. And I had to sit down and kind of write it out into a book. And I think the question itself, is a little bit meaningless. If you ask about the meaning of life, it's like, what does meaning even mean? What does the word meaning and purpose mean? So it's more of a linguistic problem to be solved, I think, than what it's actually about. Of course, you can kind of take it obviously all the way to the level of what's the nature of the universe. Is there a God? Why is there something rather than nothing? Is there a goal to life or anything? And of course you can think about that, but for all practical intents and purposes of your daily life, of what you're going to do in life, it doesn't really matter that often. I mean, if you really go down that rabbit hole of thinking about the meaning of life, does it ultimately change what you have to do day to day?
No, it doesn't.
Just like from the 𝗬𝗟 that we just talked about, do your work, then step back, the only path to serenity. That was true 2,500 years ago, and it seems to still be true now. It doesn't matter if life has a meaning, if it doesn't have a meaning. At the end of the day, you just gotta take those actions and do those things that you gotta get done. How about you? What's your history and experience with that question, and maybe what's your answer for it?
I think my history doesn't really matter, but I do think it serves as a very entertaining piece of question to think about and ponder. And I sometimes joke to myself that all those sages 2,500 years ago got nothing else to do. There's no such thing as internet, very little distraction. So they have to distract themselves with very interesting questions like this, right? Suffice to say, after thinking about it for a while, here's my proposal to it. It's not really an explanation, it's more of a context. In the beginning, there was the infinite. And the infinite, in a nutshell, got bored. Because if you are omnipresent and omniscient and omnipotent, there is really nothing else that interests you anymore. So the infinite decided to split itself into two. One finite, one infinite. So that the infinite can experience itself through finite means. And the finite have a way to experience each other finites in infinite means. That is, to me, the point of everything. We have such little time. And every decision is scary. We have such little time. And we need to really figure out how we want to use that time. Because when we use this time, however we use it, it's gone forever. It is the best form of non-fungible token ever.
That's a good way to say it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's my answer.
Does death give life meaning? What humans have done in the past as well. I mean, any religion is often based around immortal gods. And just like you in your story just now, which I really thought you put it very beautiful, the eternal got bored and it made something else, right? The eternal and infinite. And yeah, and often in these stories about gods and all the religions, there's often this idea of a paradise where we go to after death, where we then have eternal life and it's going to be great and everything. And so that's kind of what has driven humans for ages, to be like, be a good human on earth and pray to God and everything, so that then you can join God in heaven for eternal life.
The question that I would like to ask everyone is, what makes anyone think that we are not already in heaven? Depending on what is the lens that someone uses to see their current existence, it could be either hell or heaven. For somebody who who have a very dreadful way of looking at the world and the universe. It is just hell on earth, and they are just trying to struggle and trying to make something out of this pitiful existence. But for somebody who has a certain wonderful lens to look at the world, the entire universe is a playground. It's a game. In fact, it is the best MMORPG game ever, isn't it? Right. Like when we are children, we like to play with simple games, tic-tac-toe, right? Puzzle games here and there, a few blocks, especially a child who's 2 years old, 3 years old. You can't play with anything more than just a few blocks. Anything more than that would frustrate them and they will disengage. As we get older and older, the level of maturity and the level of evolution someone has enables them to appreciate more and more complex things.
And if we were immortal as humans, what would that do to things, right? And there's a lot of people who they just kind of look at, okay, here's what's happened. We've developed as humans, we've made technological progress, and we seem to be getting healthier and live longer and everything. And so maybe at some point, fairly soon, there might be a tipping point where we have the technological means to make humans immortal, where you don't have to die anymore as a human, where you just have infinite time. But then, some people ask themselves, well, if we had right now like this immortality pill, right? The cure to death. If we had it available today, right now, and you just could opt in to never dying and living forever, would you do it? What do you think? Would you want to be immortal, or do you think it would get boring?
Do I want immortality? The answer is yes, but there is a but. I watched the video that you sent and watched it before. I took a refresher again, just to watch it again, just refresh my context. And I think that there's a lot of assumptions that people make about immortality. The author of the video painted the picture where it is boring, where there's this future where humans are essentially gods, walking gods. I think that's a very long time coming. And because even if we are eternal, even if we are immortal, we are still faced with many limitations, aren't we? Right? There are still many things that we can't do. There are still many limitations that I can play around with. I see limitation as wonderful. I see limitations as amazing, as fun. And it is, and my heart flies with joy looking at all the limitations that I have as a human being. And even if I have cured death, there are still all these things to play with. But most of the time, people want immortality because they are looking to escape from something. They're looking to escape from death because they feel that, oh, death is an unknown, it's very scary and whatever not. They want trying to escape from diseases and suffering and problems. They're looking to run away from something. I want immortality because it's just a goal. Any game has to have a goal. Right? And if I have attained immortality, I will set another goal. But at the same time, I don't really think that I will live forever, even if I do attain immortality. There will be a time where I choose to end my life because it's the final frontier. Death is the final frontier. Like we can't really know what is something unless we experience it ourselves. So if I don't experience death, how am I supposed to know what is death? Yeah.
Oh, good point. Good point. Just for the experience of it.
But I want to play first, you see. So
yeah, for sure.
In the games, I noticed this pattern in myself. There are many different kinds of players. Some players are speedrunners. You know what are speedrunners, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They try to beat the game as fast as possible. I am not a speedrunner. Like when I play Minecraft as an example, I would try to make all kinds of stupid things before I choose to stop playing. When I play any form of game, especially RPG games, like I will do all the side quests. I will take all the unnecessary side quests. I would gain the achievement of exploring the entire map first, right? I want to see every nook and cranny, every corner, everything. I want to extend my time in the game as long as possible. That is the sort of player that I am. Because I'm mainly driven by curiosity. Like, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? So, so for that reason, I wouldn't have as much time as I can over here, and that is 100% in line with my theory of existence. Like, if let's say the idea of existence is to be able to experience the infinite through finite means, then the whole point is to extend my time over here, and not just extend the time, but really experience, so that I can experience even more. So my purpose of life can be explained in a nutshell: exploration. I want to explore the entire thing. I want to see everything. Even if I like, one thing that fascinates me a lot is space. I have space in my computer wallpaper as a backdrop. If somebody offered to put my brain in a jar and put electronic eyes so that I can see, but I'm free to go anywhere in space, I would do it. But that's me. I'm not imposing this on anybody else. Like in the video, they were imposing it. They were saying that immortality is coded into the DNA, and then the humans cannot even die even if they want to. I think that's a terrible existence. That shouldn't be. Like, what we think, whichever the case, whether or not we think immortality is good or not, whatever the case is, we shouldn't be imposing our own thoughts and our own opinions on other people. We should let people decide whether they want to die or not.
I agree with that. Yeah. You know what I really liked about that video, though, regardless of the exact, like how they chose to portray, for example, immortality, I thought it was just a great thought experiment, because it just flipped the question on its opposite. Usually the question is, if you could choose immortality, would you choose it? What this story kind of presupposes is, imagine that you were just immortal as the default state. Would you opt in to mortality? Would you not commit suicide, but would you undo your immortality so that you can live a finite life as means to enhance your life, to have that limited time, which then is, like, by contrast, like you say too, those contrasts between the finite and infinite, and same with time, infinite time or finite time, and good flavors and bad flavors, and good feelings and bad feelings. Those contrasts always, they seem to make life interesting and meaningful, as opposed to if everything just were one way the same, then it kind of like, it's missing. It's like a roller coaster that's going on a straight line. It's like, okay, great, roller coaster goes up and down. That's the excitement for it, right?
Yeah. Constant changing experience. That's the point. To have the same experience again and again and again. To me, that's hell. To me, that's terrible. There's nothing I am more afraid of than boredom. I don't like, if you go through the biblical version of hell, at least there's 9 circles of hell, and you get to burn every once in a while. You get to be frozen every once in a while. But to have eternal stagnation, wow. I think nobody would be sane after that.
Do you meditate though?
I do, but I meditate in a very different way these days. I used to meditate with, when I first started, I used to meditate with guided visualizations, guided meditations. And then after that, it came to a certain point where I meditate by just sitting and being quiet. And in large extent, I meditate back then by separating a certain time for it. And then after that, it came to a certain point where I can just sit and I'm already meditating.
Right.
And nowadays, I try to, or rather, should I say, as I'm speaking with you right now, as I'm sitting there, I'm meditating.
Right.
In other words,
just pure existence is like mindful and meditative, right?
Mindlessness, not mindful, mindless.
Depends, yes. Yeah, that was a tricky one.
Yeah. So to just be and be meditative, I feel a lot of calm when I'm speaking to someone. And I feel a lot of joy when I'm doing that as well. Especially as I am engaging in conversations that have very conflicting beliefs with mine.
If you can clarify that, what I heard you saying is that, really interesting, the distinction between how children only like, for example, sweet and creamy or something like that. They only like those flavors. But then as you mature, you appreciate bitterness and sourness and other tastes like that, that's a great distinction to make there, where our capacity for experience increases as we get older. And you also mentioned this kind of, let's call it toxic positivity, where it's just like, oh, all good vibes all the time. Exactly, right? Anyway, you said something though about accepting the BS or something like that. And I'm not sure how that related to your beliefs versus, what most people seem to think. Can you explain that one more time for me?
I will use fear as an example. Can we have excitement without fear? The only way we can experience excitement is if there is some form of risk, there is some form of vulnerability. If something that is not, if we are totally invulnerable, no matter what happens, then it's pretty boring. It is just that some people have less, or rather should I say, some people have more need of certainty. So a little bit amount of risk scares the hell out of them. Some people, they don't need to be certain so often. So they would like to have a lot of risk. It's kind of like surfing. If you're a bad surfer, then small little waves can topple you down. But if you're an amazing surfer, you look for giant 20, 30-foot waves. So that is the emotions, that is the fear, that is the risk, that is the danger, and all of those things. When we are little children, we need to be safe, we need to be certain. So we live in the confines and protection of a certain kind of curated environment. But as we grow up and we can become more and more evolved and become more mature, we are looking to expand the limits of our surroundings. If I can go to where I never used to go, I would like to go there. And that is, to me, the beautiful part of creation of this whole universe, because we have such little time. A child can only appreciate cream and sugar. It's creamy and it's sweet, I like it. If it's bitter, I hate it. If it's sour, I hate it. If it's salty, I hate it, right? As the child develops their tongue, they start to appreciate coffee, they start to appreciate this, start to appreciate that, more and more complex flavors of life. So there is this thing where people say the yogi is a yogi because he experiences oneness with the entire existence. And I would say that regardless of whether I am immortal or not, I would like to experience all that experience can give me, all that I can take from experience. Experience itself, to me, is the point of life. It is for me to experience. The more finite we are, the less we are able to experience, because everything we just don't like. I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And if you notice, there's a sort of movement going around that started since the 1970s until now. It is the rejection of the bad. It is a rejection of all that is not, it's like, let's vibe, good vibes only. What does that mean? Good vibes only. You only want good vibes? Bad vibes, no? In fact, where is the separation between good and bad? What is good and bad? Nobody knows. Oh, good is this, bad is that, evil is this. No, it's just a matter of what you like and what you don't like. When you like something, it becomes very good. When you really like something, it becomes divine somehow. You know, have you ever heard of someone said food is divine? Oh, this food is divine. Why? Because they like it so much. If you don't like something, it is bad. If you really hate something, it is evil. So this whole thing about good and bad, right and wrong is just an illusion. If you can just remove the separation and say, I'm right now, I have finished exploring the good stuff, right? Now I am willing and I'm courageous enough and I'm adventurous enough to really go and explore the bad stuff, the perspectives which I don't agree with, the perspectives which comes into conflict with my belief systems. It is now time to accept some bullshit in our life.
Do you think purpose looks like this, like it has a point? Or do you think purpose looks like this, like it's open? Is purpose in life a singular pursuit that's like very goal-oriented? What is it that we do, and what does it even mean to need and want something, and why do we need and want something?
Why does somebody play a game? It's just for fun. What is the purpose of the game? There's no purpose. But after I finish the game and I win, I won the game. What is it about the game that I can use? There's nothing. So why do I play? It's just fun. A dog chases a car because it's fun. After the dog catches the car, it's no longer fun. It's game over. I have a cat. Whenever I drop something, I have to be so careful about dropping something, because the moment I drop something, it is a game to her. All right, she'll chase it, she'll smack it around. But the moment it is sitting there, not moving, she lost all curiosity. So what is the purpose of desires? Why are there so much suffering and problems in the world? This might be very unpopular, but actually we love problems. We love it. We say we don't want problems. It's kind of like you go and see a teenager in a cyber cafe. They're playing an action shooter. They lost, right? They get so frustrated, right? Ah! What do they do next? They go back and they keep on playing. Right? They can probably get so angry, they take the keyboard and throw it to the other corner of the room. 5 seconds later, they're in the keyboard again, new keyboard, they're playing. They're engaged. What is the meaning of happiness? To me, happiness is simply being engaged. They say that this teenager is happily playing away in the cyber cafe. They're engaged. So why ask so many questions about what is the point of this game? What am I doing? What's the ultimate? There's no point to take it so seriously. We are engaged, and that is enough. The pursuit and the goals and the dreams are meaningless. The pursuit itself is the point. This feeling of passion that we have in our heart when we are pursuing a goal, that's amazing, isn't it? That's fun. So there's no need to think about any form of higher meaning or any higher purpose. Whatever it is that we want to do right now, just do it.
Those things that drive us, our desires, the needs and wants and things that we strive for in life, sure, they are important to us, but we can actually never directly access them or have them. Just like you said, when the dog catches the car or the cat catches the toy, well, then that's it. Like you can't ever have it. It's like trying to touch a cloud or something, right? You go right through. You can't buy freedom at the store. You can't necessarily buy happiness. You can buy things that give you the feeling of happiness, But the actual happiness itself, it's an intangible concept. It's just an emotion. And as all emotions, it's fleeting. And so that's why I focus on those action steps, right? If you have that desire and that goal and the thing that you somehow want, and you can verbalize it even, you can find a word for it. You can say, oh, I want freedom, or I want happiness. Well, that's a great word. But now in practical terms, like in this material world, what do you have to do to kind of make that happen? Do you have to go chase a car and play, or do you have to do a video game, or do you play Minecraft? You know, what is the practical action that you can take to actually experience that?
Have you ever met somebody who is, like I said, like rich, very successful, but depressed? I've met quite a lot of them, like super bored, very bored, and doing all kinds of things to try and alleviate the boredom, but for not finding any form of excitement. Things that used to, like, you see, if you go to a club and you open a bottle of a $30,000 bottle of alcohol, if you have just made your first million, that's an exciting thing to do, right? Right. But if you made your first 100 million, is it still exciting to spend $30,000 on alcohol? It's not exciting anymore. Now you need to have something else. Now you need a private jet. Now you need to have this. Now you need to have that. You need to have all kinds of things. There are people who are filthy rich and not happy. But have you ever met somebody who is ultra poor but happy?
Yes.
Yes, right? Right. Why? What do you think? Why do you think they are happy? What is the secret?
Well, I think that the secret is to find joy and happiness in the present moment, and in just aliveness, in being alive and being privileged to experience this life and getting to have it. That's my take on it. What's your take on it?
My take on it is that happiness is not found, but realized. We be happy, we don't do happy.
Right.
Right. And yet, what is the way that most people go about it? I want to try and change my external situation so that I can be happy. Is happiness inside or outside?
Can't buy it at the store.
You can't buy it at a store. No, but the thing is, happiness exists inside, not outside. But we are trying to change the external situation so to fit a certain requirement of happiness so that we can be happy. A simple way to do is just change the requirement to be happy. But a lot of people cannot handle that. You see, we got into this conversation because I said to you that problem is all there is. Like, problem is the point. Desire, without desire, there is no problem. So desire is the point, problem is the point, everything is the point. I say it's beautiful because everything is the point, including the point. It's a point. It's a pun. It's a point. It is both this and this, because we are in this whole dimension where we can be like this, you know. We can be swimming around. We can choose whatever it is that we want. What is the next direction? What is the next stage that we want to go into? But I think that everybody has a choice, no matter how hungry they are, whether to see the inherent happiness or not. And whether somebody, no matter what is the situation somebody has in their life, no matter how tough it is right now, there is a happiness there. And the moment we can see that, we are free, so free.
I want to tag on to that, like you said, to finish it up, a quote by Viktor Frankl. He's been a Holocaust survivor, and he wrote a book about the meaning of life. And there's a couple of versions of his quote, but I like this version the best. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And then he also said, in our response, meaning in our choice, lies our growth and our freedom. In that space is our power. And that's the only power we have. So I really like that sentiment in those contexts.
So do you notice that we are always often asking for what we are lacking of, right? So when somebody is lacking money, their focus is all on getting money. When somebody's focus is lacking love, all they're looking for is love. If they lack connection, that's what they're looking for. If they lack health, that's what they're looking for. So whatever it is that somebody is lacking, that is what their primary focus and concern is. Now, if let's say they are lacking food, and you go and tell them, no, you don't need food, you need enlightenment, that is both stupid and cruel. So when somebody is lacking something, they are starving for something. And even if we have gone on the other side and we see the futility in what they're doing, we shouldn't go around and tell them it is futile. And most of all, we are not them. We don't even know whether it's futile for them or not. Notice how so many wealthy people, at certain point in their life, they become altruistic. Why? Because there's nothing left to do. It's boring. That's one of the major depressions of billionaires everywhere. They reach a certain point in their life where nothing else cannot be bought. Nothing else that they want cannot be bought. So what else is there to buy? Nothing. And they have to then figure out some other ways to find meaning. So, but if let's say before they reach that stage, you go and tell them, be altruistic and everything, will they listen? No. They need to reach that stage so that they can discover the purpose of it all. They can discover the reason why they reached that stage in the first place. Some people have a very low requirement in terms of money to reach that stage. Some people have very high requirements of money before they can reach that stage. But eventually, everyone reaches that stage. Otherwise, it's just a lot of endless suffering. So what is the relation to problems and everything? Very simple. Whatever it is that people want, just solve it. My life has stopped being about what I want. It has been about what other people want. What do the people around me want? It's not even what they need anymore. I don't see things in terms of what they need. They want this, okay. If it is within my capacity, and if it is within my agreement, I'm gonna try and help them get there. And after I help them get there, then they start to see the futility of all of that. Then they can start to turn inwards towards some more interesting questions, more profound, deeper questions about the truth, about the existence. That has become my purpose, one of my purpose of living. So now that I've said that, does that make sense? Make more sense now?
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of directions to it, and especially when it comes to the question of purpose. Let me ask you then, how does this tie into what you said you kind of do for your business and with business owners? Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I try to do it as well. But also, sometimes that's where we get into spiritual bypassing territory, I think. It's kind of like going, it's going back to tell a starving person to, not be hungry anymore, but instead be enlightened. Come on, all your needs and desires, your happiness, that's just an internal state. Being hungry is just an internal state.
I hear you.
You know,
I hear you.
I mean,
I hear you.
We're born
Yeah.
into this material physical existence. And again, you know, then if you think about, well, so we are born, what are we going to do with it? Are we gonna just sit around and meditate all day, just be happy about our existence just because?
No, of course not.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it or can't do it. And I definitely think there is much value in finding happiness in the nothingness and in just aliveness. But at the same time, again, I bring it back down to, all right, so what are we going to do? We're going to improve some things. We're going to play some games. We're going to make some things happen because those things.
Let me try to melt the perspectives into one. I see your point. I see your point. I say that happiness is realized, right? I didn't say that we have to forego the doing. Foregoing the doing is not the point.
I like
realizing the joy, realizing the happiness in the pursuit. What is a pursuit? A pursuit is the doing. Realizing that you are already happy does not necessarily, when you are already happy, doesn't mean that you will stop doing what you're doing. There's a few points I want to say to that. The first point is, if you're already happy, what will you be doing? If you're already happy, you will simply be spending all of your time either keeping your happiness or helping other people find your happiness within them. You know, and sitting there meditating is not the point. We actually need to be, how shall I say? It is two ways, two things at once. First things first is there needs to be a pursuit, the whole desire thing, the whole pursuing happiness thing. And in the doing of that, because we can't help it, and in the doing of that, try to find the happiness inside the pursuit. But at the same time, realizing that internally, we need to work on ourselves. And I also want to say that there is something about the people who are constantly pursuing but not being that is stopping them from getting the things that they want the most. And how it happens is in the form of ego. I want to add on the perspective that I said just now. Somebody is not happy, so they try to change the external situation to fit their own internal requirements of happiness. We see that a lot in coaches, don't we? Why are coaches coaches? Coaches are coaches because they see a lot of people out there suffering, and they can't be happy when other people are suffering. They have one of their internal requirements of happiness is that they see other people transform, is that they see other people find their happiness. So they become coaches. But that is them trying to change the external environment to fit the internal requirements. And then they fit a certain paradox. And now and at the same time, they are also preaching that we need to change our internal too. Paradox. Right? And in the process of business, if they go out and they say, no, you got to change your internal environment first to the people who are not ready. At first, they will start to do that at the beginning, especially newbie coaches. They go around trying to fix everyone, trying to heal everyone, trying to save everyone. That's what newbie coaches would like to do. And after a while, they realize that they cannot really save everyone. What just happened? One part of their ego gets sliced away. And then they do business some more, and they start to realize that, oh, I can't just be a good coach, and people don't just come just because I'm a good coach. I actually have to do something. I actually have to do my marketing. I actually have to do my enrollments. I have to have the sales conversation, right? Things which I don't want to do. But is it me that don't want to do, or is it my ego that doesn't want to do? It's my ego. And when I accept doing what I don't want to do, another part of my ego gets sliced away. And then we go on somewhere and we find even more things. Okay, I want to help this client. I really want to help, but they have no money. And I've experienced enough number of clients that I know that I cannot accept anyone who cannot afford me. It is unethical. But now I accept this. Another part of my ego gets sliced away. And with every business decision, every moment that I grow, life is honing me, is grinding me into the shape that I need to be. And so in the process of doing this, there is less and less of my ego that is remaining. And ultimately, it will just keep grinding away, shaping me every single day. Every day I see hurt, I see tragic, I see loss, I see grief, I see fear, I see frustration, I see pride and overcoming the pride. Right? I see shame, I see guilt within me. It's all within me. The external situation is grinding me into shape. Every single day to the day I die. This whole thing is beautiful, I think.
You touched on a few things here in terms of ego and finding happiness, and then also the contrast that we have in life and what's good and what's bad. And you mentioned or you emphasized how we can find happiness basically by choice, right? Happiness is a choice and it comes from within, and that's it. Okay. Yet at the same time, and you know that's why I've kind of changed possibly my position as well. I don't know. What I've discovered over the years is that even though you can to some degree control your emotions and choose your state and everything, they will always somehow fluctuate. And also I think that all those emotions, even though a lot of people like to separate them, especially, you know, some very divine emotions, they're, oh, that's definitely not my ego, it's a divine emotion. But actually I think that's all ego. I think emotions only happen in the ego, right? So it's all ego all the way down, no matter what, because it's your unique first person conscious experience. And that's what I think ego is. Of course we have this, you know, pride and ego, and like we're being boastful, having a big ego. That's a different meaning of the term ego, though, how we often use it in psychology and spirituality, where it kind of means it refers to the self and some part of ourselves, perhaps, right? And I think that just in order to have self-consciousness, self-awareness, who is aware of what, right? So we're 150 billion neurons and trillions of synapses. So there are multiple aspects to us, and these multiple aspects reflecting on each other is what creates our consciousness and our awareness. And so that's why I think at the end of the day, those, you know, all those needs, wants, desires that we talked about earlier, that we're always wanting to have, and that we can choose to find in the present moment, or we can choose them to find them in the activities that we do. I think they're also a part of the ego. And it is an interesting thing to find yourself, you know, doing things that you actually don't like in order to achieve something else, and then have that going through that process shape you, right? We're dynamic beings and our experiences shape us. So I agree with you. It is beautiful, although I try to, you know, if I see too much negative upon self-reflection, if I see that there's just too many problems, and what I'm doing here is not actually what I had in mind originally. When I start to see that, I'm realizing, you know, maybe I have to change course here. Maybe I have to readjust, do some things a little bit differently, so that I don't become a product of my circumstances, but that I create circumstances.
I agree with you. Also, just to add on, I think at certain point, we talk about how we sacrifice certain things in order to achieve something. But after a certain point, all there is only sacrifice.
Hmm.
It's not really to achieve anything. It's just, I'm not sure if people would even want what I am currently doing. But what I'm currently doing within myself is I am actively trying to sacrifice. I am actively trying to let go. I want to shave away myself. That is what I want. I want to accept more of the beliefs that conflicts with my beliefs. I want to dissolve this whole idea of there is such a person as Felix. That is the state that I am right now.
Which would be ego dissolution, right?
Yeah, and I find this whole process, I mean, it's painful at first, but now it feels very nice for some reason. I can only speak for myself. I cannot speak for anybody else. But this feels nice actually. And even as I'm speaking right now, I am feeling certain things coming up within me. And every new interaction that I have with people, especially conflicts, is giving me more and more of these experience. Which paradoxically, by me shaving off myself, for some reason, I get more of what I want. You ask me like, what do I do? How does it tie to what I do? Well, it's actually very simple. Like when I had I wanted to teach self-mastery. I wanted to, whatever we just talked about, that's what I wanted to teach initially. But everybody around me want to learn business from me. So I could choose to enforce what I want, or I can just let other people take from me what they want. So again, the process of dissolution. And now I have so many clients because I do that. and when they're here inside my program, we talk about this kind of stuff every day. Yeah, so like in my program, we have tactical conversations where we talk about strategies and business and all those things. But every single morning, whoever that is open to it, I ask them to come to my room, to my virtual room, and we have a conversation about life. We have a conversation about emotions. We have a conversation about mindset. And in the process of doing so, they transform. So now I get what I want. And they get what they want too.
Oh, I see. All right. Tricky. Good on you. So so you combine the two, the self-mastery and the business.
Yeah. And they get so much results from doing so like that as well, because one of the primary problems that business courses have is that people don't take action. Right? They pay and then they just don't use the program. So when I provide this kind of support, they can't help but take action. Because we talk about the process of dissolution of the ego and everything, right? So boom, it just merges seamlessly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's been a great conversation, man.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation with you too, man.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And interesting to hear that you're going through this journey right now of dissolving the ego, and yet trying to do so brings you more of something else. It's paradox.
Yeah.
And I think even though it can be a kind of like worthless pursuit to ask the meaning of life, at the end of the day too, if you become clear on it, it can really inform and drive your actions and motivate you, and so that you wake up in the morning and you know what you get up for, and you're driven to take action. Because I mean, you've got to realize that it's only this one life, and what matters and why it matters, and that you're gonna make stuff happen in this life. So I see how of course it all combines, especially for entrepreneurs. I think sometimes people think it could be like a part-time gig, but really not. It's gonna take everything from you.
Yeah.